If you can be your heart just 1% more than you were yesterday, then you are killing it.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Coach Tribe podcast. Today we have Jenn with us, and it's a very special conversation that we're going to have because we're going to talk about the heart, the soul. We're going to talk about stepping within your inner powers. We're going to talk about authenticity, vulnerability, and honestly, I'm just so grateful because Jenn is with here us today because she's one of the best person out there who can share her perspective on things and help us find that inner light, bring it to surface and help others find the inner light within themselves. Jenn, it is an honor to have you here today with us. Hello and how are you?
Wow, thank you so much for that beautiful intro. And it's really an honor to be here as well. And I'm mentally, physically, spiritually prepared to just dive into all of this stuff with you.
And I think we are too. Now, I know on your Instagram bio, Jenn, that you call yourself, or like your tagline is a vulnerable heart. And I wanted to start by just asking you that. What is a vulnerable heart and why do you choose to call yourself like that?
I'm sure that some of your listeners, and perhaps you as well, are familiar with the work of Brené Brown. Are you? Medium?
Maybe not.
I can explain. So Brené Brown, for anyone listening, if you don't know her, look her up. She is truly one of my idols in so many ways. And she has a PhD in social work and she studies shame and vulnerability. And so when I was first really introduced to the topic of vulnerability as a concept, it was when I started following her work, which was, I guess, like 6 years ago or so, and discovered through that vulnerability is truly a superpower. And to be vulnerable is ultimately to place yourself in a position where you're at a certain level of emotional or mental risk, or it's extremely uncomfortable, or there's perhaps a subtle fear that you could feel or experience a sense of shame, granted what it is that you share. But what is beautiful about vulnerability is that I believe it is the gateway to really meaningful connection with people. And there's this incredible study, I can't remember the name of the study, but it was done by Harvard and it was like 96 years or something. And they followed, I can't remember the number, like 100 and something people for the duration of their entire life, and to try to figure out what it was that brought them the greatest sense of happiness. You know, like, was it money? Was it success? I think those were some of the hypotheses. And it turned out that it was meaningful relationships. And when people are on their deathbed, the number one regret that they tend to have is, I didn't spend enough time with my family and my loved ones. But it's not just about spending time, it's about spending quality time, right? And I believe that quality time requires us to really be seen, heard, and understood, and also see people, hear people, and understand people. So not just like hanging out, watching a movie, although that's great quality time too sometimes. And then I guess a few years ago, people started to, maybe 5 years ago or so, really applaud me in my vulnerability. And I would often be told things like, vulnerability is truly your superpower. And this isn't something that I thought necessarily, because it just came so natural for me to be vulnerable. But then I also started to hear from people, I don't know, around a decade ago, like, oh, whoa, I've opened up to you so quickly. Like, I don't usually open up to people this quickly. But I think it's because I'm also vulnerable with people. So it's like it gives them permission to be vulnerable with me. And then it makes people feel safer. And then we grow faster together. And then it has intertwined its way into my work in numerous ways. So
Beautiful explanation. And the only follow up question I have is, you said vulnerability is the gateway to connection, to meaningful connection. And if that's not clear enough for some of us, why is that meaningful connection so important? And why is it that, we should strive to have that and get that?
If people aren't sure, I highly suggest looking up this Harvard study. There is, I think, a TED or TEDx talk on it, and he goes pretty deep into it. But I grew up as only biological child in a foster home. So I saw the result of a lack of meaningful connection and what that can actually do to children and to a family. And then I saw the result of connection and openness and understanding being placed on people that maybe didn't experience it so much. Okay, let me try to think of like a metaphor to describe this. So you're dating somebody brand new and you're about to go on your first date with them, and you're like putting on your best self, and it feels really exciting. You're doing your makeup the perfect way and your hair the perfect way and you're dressing the perfect way. And you're like really excited, and at the same time you're not 100% yourself, because there's this level of I don't necessarily feel safe to be 100% myself. Fast forward, people start to finally show their true colors. People get into arguments, things start to arise, or it's like, you never told me this about you, or you didn't show up this way in the beginning, and la la la. And then this sort of stuff starts to dismantle relationships eventually, amongst many other things, of course. And there's almost this level that I've definitely experienced when dating in this situation, where it's like I have to keep up with this persona that I've created for myself, and if I don't, then maybe the person won't really love me. So it's like I'm not allowing myself to feel completely safe being myself, and therefore I might be connecting with the other person, but with like a film between us. Now let's say you date your best friend. How easy does that feel? For anyone listening that's ever dated a best friend, it's like the easiest thing ever. You're just yourself. You don't have to like think about anything. Even if you like have like something sticking out of your nose, like it's cool. They don't care. There's less shame ultimately. So, and there's less like second guessing yourself. There's more safety. And imagine a life where you live without really allowing yourself to be seen by other people. You live in this like kind of fake facade where you're showing up as one way, but it's not who you truly are. And like for me, when I've shown up in a way that isn't who I truly am, which still happens to me, like even on a daily basis here and there, where it's like I won't fully let myself be there, but then it's like it's because I'm not maybe accepting that part of myself in that situation. And so when we're allowing meaningful connection, we're fully accepting ourselves. We're fully like, all right, this is how I am, like this is me, and if you love me, amazing, and if you don't, on to the next one.
The Coach Tribe podcast is powered by Pensight. I want to take this opportunity to tell you more about Pensight and how much value it can provide you and your coaching business.
Pensight is an all-in-one platform for coaches and educators that enables you to quickly and easily build a highly credible page and sell your knowledge with one-to-one sessions, group coaching, courses, Q&As, digital products, and bundles. Payments, scheduling, video calling, client communications, and everything else is taken care of.
All it takes is 5 minutes to set up, and it's free. It's the smartest way to kickstart your coaching business. Sign up to Pensight today at pensight.com.
I want to ask you, Jen, like, in what way is this powerful, and in what way can this, really improve our lives, but also, the professional side, our businesses, like, how can that transition into that? And why, how are these interconnected or interrelated?
Obviously, everyone is familiar with the teacher-student relationship. And if you think back to your favorite teachers in high school or in elementary school, they were the ones, very likely, that were the most real. They were the ones that were the most treated you like an equal. They didn't treat you like less than. They didn't kind of place on this guru type of power, which unfortunately does happen a lot in the spiritual community. And that creates a sense of disconnection. So then think of the teachers. I mean, there's sure many different reasons not to like a teacher, but think of some of the teachers where you felt a sense of disconnection from. And it was, sometimes because they place themselves in this role of I'm the teacher and you're the student. I've even noticed this with my parents. When one of my parents is more, when I was younger, gravitated to the role of I'm the parent, you're the child. I was less close to this parent as an adult. The other parent was, sure, I'm the parent, you're the child, but we're equal. And I'm human, you're human. I don't know more than you just because I'm the parent. I don't know more than you just because I'm the teacher. And now with this parent, I have a much closer relationship. And when it comes to our professional life, I understand for anyone listening, this might actually be quite triggering for some people listening, because I get that it's like, oh my God, I can't be so real with my audience. I can't be so real with my community or my students or my clients, because then they won't respect me as much. They won't think I have all my stuff together. But really, that's what will bring them closer to you. And I will get told a lot by students and by clients how comfortable and safe they feel with me because I'm so real. So the person that you are interacting with right now, this is the same person you'll interact with if we're hanging out as friends, if you come to a ceremony I'm hosting, if you come to a yoga teacher training I'm teaching, I'm the same individual. And so the people that I teach and the people that I coach, they become so much more themselves, not just with me, but also in life in general, because they feel safe too. And for me, I'm like, what's the point in living if we can't be ourselves?
And why is it so important to become more of ourselves? Like, what's powerful in that, in case maybe for some of us we're still wondering or discovering? Because why is it that we want to, uncover more of ourselves, be more real, be more authentic, be more vulnerable? Like, what is it? Does it give us more creative powers, more confidence, more standing out more easily?
It really comes down to, that really corny saying, something like just be yourself or don't try to be anyone else because everyone's already busy being someone else. So just try to be yourself, because it goes something like that. You know the saying I'm talking about?
Be yourself, everyone else is taken. I think it's also
Thank
wild.
you.
It's one of
Thank
my
you,
favorite
yes.
quotes, actually.
It's like, yourself is amazing. Whoever yourself is, yourself in the heart, even with all the shadows that come with it, with all the saboteurs and the wounding and everything that comes with it, like yourself is special. And this is something that I struggled with so many times, where I would look at other people's success or see what other people are doing, and then I would start to be like, oh, I should do more of that, I should do more of that, oh my God. And I would be really inspired, but was also at the same time losing connection to my own power and my own gifts and my own creativity. And then, like as you were saying, a sense of confidence would dwindle away, because then I was like, oh, I need to be more like that in order to be accepted or successful, instead of just being like, no, but who am I? What are my gifts? What are my skills? What are my passions? What are the things that light me up? And when we figure those things out from a really authentic place and we start offering them to the world, there's no one else in the world that's going to be able to do that like we're able to do that. And then when we start to see that we're received from that place, because promise you, if it comes from the heart, you will be received from that place, then yes, we gain so much more confidence, because we realize people actually love me for who I am. They don't just love me because I'm succeeding in something. They love me for who I am. We get more creative, as you said, because then it's like we're actually tapping into those gifts. We're actually tapping into those passions. And we're giving ourselves permission to fully be ourselves from that place, instead of, trying to copy others. And then that's where our magic rests as well, because it's like a gold ball in the middle of everybody's being. And the more we peel back the layers of anything that may be causing a cloud around that gold ball, so inauthenticity, trying to be like somebody else, then we finally get to that gold ball, and then it just shines out so brightly to the world, and everyone's gonna love it. I promise that if you are fully being yourself in your heart, everyone that is your soul family that will matter to your own personal evolution and yourself will love you.
I think, this is where, let's say, attracting soul clients come into as well, because you want to be working, with those, I call them soul clients, because those are the best type of person to people to work with. And also, I think it's good maybe to mention, Jen, that this is also a process. So I'm thinking when you discover that golden bowl, like inside that golden bowl there's another golden bowl, because it's a constant process of unpeeling those layers. It's like an onion, that's how I like to see it. And you keep unpeeling, and there is maybe something more, more true to yourself, more authentic. And I think it's important to just remind ourselves that it's a process, and that we always just have to keep going. As long as we come with a good intention and we stay true to ourselves, that's the most and best that we can do.
Totally. And like, don't get me wrong, every day a little bit, I compare myself. Every day a little bit, I try in some way to be something I'm not. And it might be like a second, or it might be several hours. It depends on my mood, my cycle, just where I'm at internally, what's happening in my life. But it's really an ongoing journey. And this, I'm not saying this to make anyone feel exhausted, but to say like, yeah, every day I go through a sense of, wait, who am I again? Or am I really being like authentic to myself right now? Am I doing this activity because I want to, or am I trying to impress someone? Am I speaking to my audience in this way because I want to, or because I think I should? And if we speak to our audience, and I've learned this the hard way, the way we think we should, instead of the way that we truly align with, then we're either not going to attract clients, or the clients we're going to attract are not, as you're saying, our soulmate clients. But the more that we dive into our own truth, the more that we are going to attract those soulmate clients. And I also just want to clarify that to be, vulnerable and authentic doesn't mean to just like pour your heart out to a public community. Okay, so for anyone listening, if they're like, oh my gosh, so does this mean that I have to like share my entire personal life with my community in order to be vulnerable? That is not what I'm saying at all. For some, it might be. For some, it definitely is not. And it's really all about what actually aligns with you, and finding that sense of sacred exclusivity within yourself, and also that sense of sacred exclusivity with your community. What would you like to keep in your community? What would you like to keep within yourself? Because, it's not about just like word vomiting everything that you're experiencing. It could be in some moments, but it's about tuning into what actually feels right and aligned for you to be sharing from a place of heart-centeredness, not from a place of I should be showing up this way.
I know you worked with lots of people, Jen, and you helped them be more vulnerable with themselves in their lives, be more authentic. And I want to ask you, what are some of the biggest obstacles that you see them facing in this process, and how can they overcome them? Like, what are those barriers, those things you see over and over again?
I would say self-judgment is the biggest one. And, that can show up as a lack of confidence, as insecurity, as trying to put a project out, but then stopping right before it goes out. Or I do a lot of manifestation work. So it could be trying to manifest something, but then stopping because it's like, oh, but I'm not deserving of that. Like, it really kind of comes back all the time to self-judgment. And I wish it were just as easy as like, okay, for anyone's listening, just stop judging yourself and then you're going to be fine. But it's it's not that easy, because I judge myself every day a little bit, and sometimes a lot. It depends on the day. And it's really more about noticing what it is that we're judging ourselves for, and taking it as an opportunity or an invitation to evolve, or to become better, or to learn something. So, for example, I went through a pretty gnarly separation last year, and I started to judge myself on the way that I looked. And I never used to judge myself on how I looked ever. And I would start creating these stories, and that's where stories can sometimes come from, is self-judgment. So I don't look good enough, I'm not beautiful enough. And then once I started to notice that this was just a judgment, I was able to then be like, I look at the mirror and I do feel I'm beautiful. Or I love the outfit that I'm wearing, or I love my eyes, or whatever it may be. And it gave me an opportunity to then actually become stronger in that area than I was before. So just because self-judgment or judgment can feel like a quote lower vibrational experience, it's actually an amazing opportunity to become even better in that area, and also hold compassion for other people that are going through that, because we all judge ourselves.
And I think this reminded me of this idea that maybe how you treat others is in a way a reflection of how you treat yourself. And the same goes, in relationship with how you allow others to treat you. But I'm only saying this because the more, I think, the better you become with yourself, in your own mind, the more confident for yourself, clear on who you are, what you want, on your why, on peeling those onion beads. I feel like the more you can empower others to be that and do that, and I think that's one of the best mechanisms and strengths that you can have as a coach, to just also become better for yourself, and then you can help others to do that. But I feel like it comes from a more powerful way, and I feel like that's why inner work is so important, self-awareness is so important, because everything in the end becomes like a reflection, and it's magnetic in the end. It just attracts everything around you like a magnet.
Exactly. And if you think about the moment that you, for anyone listening, that you felt the most good, that you felt the most happy, genuinely joyful, genuinely satisfied with your life, they were moments that you were fully accepting yourself as you are. They were the moments that you were loving yourself as you are. They are the moments that you were choosing yourself as you are. But if you don't know who you are, you can't love yourself. You can't choose yourself. You can't accept yourself. So the more that we become vulnerable, the more that we actually learn who we are, and the more confident we become. And then it's like because it's all this inner work, the outer world has no other choice but to reflect us back to us. So the more that we do that, then it's like our relationships get healthier, our community gets stronger, our business makes more money. It's magic, but it's not actually magic, because it's just how the world works.
And as much, as I think fear can come in the way, because it is a very uncomfortable process, I would say. And yes, maybe it does get easier at times, but not always. It's a bit like a carousel sometimes. And I think it's worth to think that as much, as uncomfortable as it can get, like think about all the good that can come out of it. Like really maybe even try to balance, like what's the worst that can happen, what's the best that can happen. And I can always assure you that whatever is the best is so much more weight, and it's just worth to fight for, and it's worth to go through all the uncomfortable and all the pain and all the fears, because there is so much more for you out there if only you can fight for it, that process, and just be more of yourself, because I think that's really the most powerful thing that we have as beings.
Oh, it definitely is. It definitely is, because it is what we have. It is who we are.
Again, back to that comment, be yourself, everyone else is taken. And it is true that in a noisy world, with coaches, with creators, because it becomes more and more noisy, that's your strength. That's your way to stand out, your unicity, being unique, being authentic. I think like that's your superpower. Jenn, just, before we get to the end of the episode, I wanted to ask you, what are some little practical exercises that we can do to, step into that inner power, to become more vulnerable, more authentic? What are some little exercises that we can start doing right now to just get there?
Take someone that you love and trust and tell them a secret. It's important that it's somebody that you love and trust, and important that it's a secret about you. It's not gossip. And then notice how they accept you. And if it's somebody that you love and trust, they will accept you. They will even feel closer to you, and you'll feel closer to them. The greatest exercises that we can do with strengthening our vulnerability and our confidence in who we are is through these types of embodiment practices. Another thing is to allow someone to see your emotions emotions, whether they be high, low, in between, all the things, in a setting where you feel safe, or you feel mostly safe, but maybe there's like, you kind of have to lean into your edge a little bit to, you have to feel a little bit uncomfortable and allow someone, again, that you love and trust, whether it be a very close friend, a partner, a family member, maybe even, it depends on the person, a colleague, a coworker, a collaborator, and allow them to witness your emotions. I'm not saying like, just pour your heart onto somebody and then just start crying your eyes out about a situation, because like you want to read the room a little bit and make sure that it's something that the other person is ready for to a degree. But you'll notice that when you start doing this bit by bit, those other people will start to reflect that back to you. And I'll share briefly, I used to work in advertising in like a past life, this life, but it feels like a past life. And I had an amazing team. Like the whole office was just, everyone was phenomenal. But I allowed myself just to be myself. And then not only did that make me feel safe and create a close connection with someone, and again, it comes back to that meaningful connection thing. When we start to practice just allowing ourselves to be seen. Yeah.
Seen,
Sorry?
heard. What were the three? There is seen,
Seen,
heard,
and
and
understood. I think I will add onto what I've just said that like it's important to do our best to first see, hear, and understand before we try to be seen, heard, and understood.
And I think, again, I actually am going to say this again for everyone listening. It's important to first see, hear, and understand before you're trying to be seen, heard, and understood. Wow, that is powerful. And now I think maybe a last question that I want to ask you, especially after the story that you just shared, is around being, first of all, honest with ourselves. And I feel like here sometimes, we have some stories that we tell ourselves, but they don't come really from that truth, like sometimes we lie to ourselves. And what can we do there to maybe start coming from a place that's honest with ourselves first and stop lying to ourselves? Because maybe there are stories that we keep repeating for years and they became part of our identity. And how can we, first of all, become honest with ourselves? Because I feel like that's so important. And if we don't fix that foundation, that's going to have some sort of ripple effect in whatever we're trying to work on.
This is like slightly going off a little bit, but I like to take this from the perspective of we create everything in our reality. So I just want to also preface this with, I'm a human that is grasping this concept. Okay. I'm not all knowing light being. I'm a seeker, not a knower. There are no knowers in these human bodies, because if you're truly a knower, you don't need to be in a human body anymore. So I just want to preface this with, there's possibly exceptions to this, okay? But just taking on the perspective, I create everything in my reality. Lean into your edge. Don't go so uncomfortable with this, but go as uncomfortable as you can get. And then notice what's in my reality that I'm not happy about or that I'm not aligned with. For me, if I'm not aligned with this separation, it's not that I'm not aligned with it. I wasn't happy about it. If I'm not happy about it, but I created it, let's just admit for a second, I created it. Okay, so if I created it, what did I have to believe about myself in order for my ex-partner to decide that it was over between us? What did I have to believe about myself? Okay, I would have had to believe that I'm not worthy of being chosen, or I'm not worthy of being number one, or I'm not worthy of being loved. Okay, I'm like, okay, so if I created this reality, that would mean that I believed those things. So then I go into those things, I release those through, you can do like tapping, you can do hypnotherapy, you can do theta healing. That's one of my favorites. Like there's so many things that you can do to release these beliefs and then start to plant in new beliefs. Okay, so what is the reality that I want? The reality that I want is having a partnership with commitment, with love, when that time does come. Okay, so for that person, what does she believe about herself? She believes that she is worthy of being chosen. She believes that she's worthy of being number one and worthy of being loved. So then I need to start doing that for myself instead of looking outside for others to do that, because if I'm looking outside, it means that I'm not doing that for myself, which means that I don't actually believe that. So I think that's a really helpful way of figuring out what our limiting beliefs are and then changing them.
I actually really like that exercise, and the way that you said it, it's just I will definitely, do that for myself, but I think just the way that you said it just connected so much of what we talked about today. And it's about also, as you were saying, you're the creator, narrator, your own story. And that's very powerful. And like, in order to create the reality that you want, you have to accept the reality that you have right now, the one that you created for yourself. And as painful and scary as that might be, again, it's very empowering as well, because now the control is in your hands. So I love that perspective. Now, Jenn, we've had such a lovely conversation, and I just honestly feel so excited about the process, but also a very optimistic side of what's ahead of us, because you've gave us some of the tools we can apply in our lives in order to uncover more of ourselves and to really try to connect more with that inner light and bring it to surface. And I want to ask you, where can people, find you? How can you help them? Yeah, why should they reach out? Stick around.
You can find me on Instagram. I'm sure there's show notes that will have this, but my Instagram is Jenn with 2 N's .Agostini, my last name. Or if you search a vulnerable heart, you might find me. My YouTube channel has the same handle, Jenn 2 N's .Agostini. Also, if you search a vulnerable heart, it says that as well. And then my website is a vulnerableheart.club. And I mostly support people in manifestation from the point of view of the Vedas. So basically what I was describing today, you create your reality, everything is a reflection from within, and relationships. And in both of those, it's all about connecting to the heart first. And then in manifestation, it's creating your reality from that place. In relationships, it's connecting to other people and deepening your relationships from that place.
So you heard Jenn, if you enjoyed this conversation, you got value out of it, and I'm sure you did if you're still here with us, then I really encourage you to go follow Jenn and learn from what she has to say. She has some amazing, beautiful reels, beautiful content, inspiring, and really even look into ways how you can get in touch with her, work with her, because she is a pro at her game. And I'm very grateful to have you here today with us, Jenn. Any last words for our audience?
Well, first, I just want to say thank you so much. And I really am grateful for this. And if you can be your heart just 1% more than you were yesterday, then you are killing it.
Wow, that is the perfect way to end this episode. It's all about that one step, because so many times we feel overwhelmed because we look so far ahead, but really the power is just in that one step. So it is like that. So yeah, that's a great way. Now, thank you very much, Jenn. Thank you, dear audience, for sticking till the end. And I shall see you all for the next episode of the Coach Tribe podcast. Have a great day, everyone. Ciao.
Bye.
Hope you enjoyed this episode.
We'll be releasing every Wednesday, so make sure to
subscribe
and rate us 5 stars where you're listening to this show to give others a chance to discover it too.